I'm very happy to be here, and we're continuing on youth perspectives even after the holy month of Ramadan. And the focus of today's program will be essentially the great holiday that just passed by, and that is Eid. And today we have 4 guests with us today who will introduce themselves, and we're going to go ahead and start with Muhammad. You guys will tell your names and your grade.
Hello, I'm Muhammad. I'm in fifth grade, going to 6th.
Okay.
My name is Murtada, and I am in 2nd grade.
My name is Ahmad, and I'm in 8th grade.
My name is Waji Jaffrey, and I'm in 7th grade. I'm going to 8th grade.
Yeah, so I'm really happy, and we should all be really happy that we have all of these 4 guests with us here today. And together, I hope we can really get an in-depth discussion about Eid, and just kind of a casual conversation about Eid and kind of reflecting on our Ramadan. So firstly, I would like to begin by telling I'd like to begin by talking essentially about Eid. I'd like to first say Eid Mubarak to all the viewers and Eid Mubarak to all our guests today. And I wanted to say how important of a holiday Eid is. And I want to especially give my condolences to specific people who have lost some loved ones in the past year. It's really not the same if those people aren't with you in the following Eid. So I wanted to give condolences to those people, and to those people who are orphans, and the people whose children have passed away, and all of these school shootings, especially like a girl that we mentioned on our previous program, Sabika Sheikh, and other victims of school shootings, and just to kind of give condolences to their families and hope that they had a great Eid, and giving Eid Mubarak to them. And I'd also like to give my condolences, to all the orphans and anyone who's suffering in any way around the globe. And, we should really feel for these people, that they're not in the same circumstances as we are. And I'd like to say Eid Mubarak to all of them and give our condolences. Specifically, I'd also like to mention an individual who passed away last year, and his name was Abu Tahir Jaffrey. And he was actually a really great person. He would read Namaz al-Shab, and even at college he would read his tasbih, and he was a very, very active member of the community and a really great individual. And it was sad that he passed away in his early 20s. I'd like to give my condolences to his family, and I'm sure they are going through a hard time. But on this Eid, the point of me mentioning all these things is, that we should really remember these people, and we should pray for other people on Eid also. So I just wanted to kind of begin by that. And so continuing on, now I'm going to move on to the guests again. I just want to ask you guys, let's start with Muhammad. Did you do anything special? Do you want to share your Eid experience?
Well, my Eid experience was good. We woke up for breakfast. We changed into our clothes that we went to go to Eid Namaz. We ate breakfast and went to Eid Namaz, and then we started hearing the takbirats, Allahu Akbar, Walillah alhamd. And then we did our Eid Namaz, and then we went back home and met up with our family, exchanged gifts and presents, and then went to dinner with our family again.
Oh, that's really nice. So do you have any special moment that you want to share that happened this Eid? Or do you have any plans for today, anything else that you want to share?
Yeah, actually I don't know.
You don't know, but that was a great I think your experience itself, you went and you came up together with your family on Eid and going to the namaz. That's a great experience on its own. So Murtaza, do you want to share anything special that you did on Eid?
Well, on Eid I woke up for breakfast, and then we went to Eid Namaz and dressed up and everything. And then after Eid Namaz we were doing the takbirat, and then we went home, and then we met with family and changed the gifts, and then we went to dinner, and that's it.
Okay, that's really nice. You spent time with your family, so that's a really good experience. Moving on to Emma, do you want to share what you did on Eid?
With the same thing mostly. Like we woke up pretty early for Eid Namaz, and then we went in the morning, and we stayed for the namaz. It took maybe 15 minutes to do. And then we listened to the Maulana's khutbah. Then we came home. we met with our family, and we ate some like pretty good food, and yeah, it was pretty fun.
It was a good, that sounds really nice. You know, you got to, again, you know, these family experiences are something that, the sole idea of meeting up with your family and just enjoying the moment is really important to do on Eid. That's really a vital aspect of that. What do you want to share, any special moment in Eid, or, just your Eid experience?
So I started by waking up, and then I went to Eid namaz, and when I came home, I met with my aunt and then my uncle, and it felt really weird eating in the middle of the day since we fasted in Ramadan. And that was pretty something I would like to share.
Yeah, looking like when we look back, it's kind of like weird, I'd like to say myself, going from 30 days of not eating anything every day until, of course, night, and then suddenly, eating during the day, it kind of feels weird, Do you guys ever feel that way when you, drink water in the morning, like, oh, wait, am I fasting today, So it's kind of weird to adjust, even your stomach, it's kind of weird to adjust back to that schedule. And so, moving on along, these were great experiences that I heard from my guests today about Eid, and just, reflecting on such a great holiday that just passed by. So that was really nice. So now I want to share an ayat from the Holy Quran. I'm actually going to just say the translation of this ayat. So this is in Surah Maida, and this is actually an instance in the Quran where Eid is mentioned. So I wanted to mention that. So this is Surah Maida, it's verse 114. And this is actually talking about Prophet Isa. And after I say the translation of the ayat, I'm just going to kind of explain the story behind it. So, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, bismillahir rahmanir rahim. So this is the translation. Said Jesus, son of Mary, O Allah, our Lord, send down to us a table from the sky to be a festival for us. So here, this is actually an instance of Eid about Prophet Isa alayhi salam. And what actually happened was Prophet Isa alayhi salam, he was with his companions, and he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he prayed for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to send down for him and his companions some food. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Maida, and this is actually in Surah Maida, and Maida basically means food. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down the food for Prophet Isa, and then Prophet Isa said that make it a day of Eid for us. And actually in the Arabic part of it, it actually says Eid here. So when I said festival, that means it's referring to Eid, and that's what it says in the Arabic part of the ayat. So that was just a part of the Quran where Eid is mentioned. That kind of shows us how important and great of a holiday Eid is for all of us. So moving on along, I wanted to go ahead and go into the more meaning of Eid. Most of us, we think as Eid as like an end, like we have multiple Eids of course, but Eid al-Fitr, we think of that as like an end to Ramadan, like that happiness, that happy day that's like right as soon as Ramadan is over, there's a happy day we all celebrate, at the end of Ramadan. But like now I'm gonna come to Ahmad, and I'm gonna ask you, Ahmad, do you want to tell us anything about the meaning of Eid, its origin?
Yeah, actually on the day of Eid, Maulana Farhat Abbas, he was a local Maulana, he gave a khutbah about Eid, and in this khutbah he talked about the actual meaning of Eid. And the derivation of Eid comes from the word oud, which means to come back, and like to return to. So in context of Ramadan, we're in like that cycle of like waking up in the morning and like and then eating sahri, then not eating for the whole day, and then eating iftar at night. And then so basically we're returning back to our normal schedule that we have for the rest of the year. And another like definition that we could have for this is that like we're going through the extensive training throughout the month of Ramadan of fasting, and we're going through these hardships of praying and all that. And then so we're returning to Allah. So then that's basically like the final moment, Eid, like the end of Ramadan, where we're coming back to Allah, which is the definition of Eid.
Yeah, that's a great, Ahmad actually gave us two interpretations of Eid. So Eid actually comes from the root word oud, and oud means to come back. So Ahmad gave us two interpretations of the meaning of Eid. So one is basically like, since oud means to come back, it's like right after Ramadan. Eid is like after Ramadan ends, so we're like coming back to our old routine. You know, usually in Ramadan, what we did was you woke up at like 4 a.m. in the morning, and then you ate in the morning, then you fasted the entire day, and then close to 9 o'clock you ate your food. But then as soon as Ramadan is over, you know, we come back to our normal routine. Maybe eat breakfast at around 8 p.m. and then eat lunch in the middle and then eat dinner. So in a way, Eid is like you're coming back to your normal routine, which is one interpretation that Ahmed gave us. The other interpretation, which is a great interpretation, is that essentially, you know, Ahmed said that the month of Ramadan is like an extensive training for us, right? And we become more closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through Ramadan. But I'd like to mention that when Allah says that right when we were actually born on the fitrat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, meaning, and fitrat means instinct. And instinct means that, you know, we were born innocent. You know, we knew how to differentiate right from wrong. You know, we could say that, you know, lying and backbiting, these are bad things, you know, and giving to charity, being nice to our family, giving things to other people, these are good things. So we could clearly, when we're born, we can clearly differentiate between what's right and what's wrong. But then when we get more exposure to the world, you know, it kind of, when we get more closer to the world, it deviates what our sense of what good and bad means. And so then we end up, like, God forbid, you know, doing sins, because our interpretation of what's good and wrong is different. So coming back to what Eid means is, you know, how Ramadan is like a month of extensive training for us. So Eid is like, if we consider like right after Ramadan, you know, we're coming back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So like I said, Eid comes from the word oud, and oud means to come back. So we're coming back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the month of Ramadan. And, you know, hopefully what our wishes are is that even after Ramadan, we continue to remain close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But Ramadan itself is like an extensive training, like Ahmed said, to get closer to Allah. So it's coming back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you know, because when we were born, we were on the instinct of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We were on the fitrat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Eid is kind of like, you know, we're coming back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And hopefully we can keep it that way even after Ramadan. So Ahmed, I would also like to ask you, do you have any story to share regarding Eid, and specifically Imam Hassan alayhi salam and Imam Hussein alayhi salam?
Yeah, actually that's pretty specific, but like basically at the time of Bibi Fatima alayhi salam, she basically at the time of Eid, a lot of parents would give their children new clothing on the day of Eid, you know, as like a gift, and the children would get happy. And basically Imam Hussein alayhi salam and Imam Hassan alayhi salam, they asked Bibi Fatima salamullahi alayha if they would receive any clothing from her. And she said yes, the tailor will bring them by later. But she was worried about how she would pay for it, how she would like be able to give back to the tailor for giving her the clothing. And basically, so she prayed to Allah to give her some sort of solution. And of course, she's the daughter of the Prophet, so so Allah granted her wish. So soon after, she heard like a knock on her door, and so she opened it, and a person introduced themselves to her as Rizwan, who's the guardian of heaven, and he had brought down some clothing for Imam Hassan alayhi salam and Imam Hussein alayhi salam. So one of the garments was red, and one of them was green. And this was, and the red one was for Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and the green one was for Imam Hassan alayhi salam. This was sort of symbolic for the future of both Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein. Imam Hussein was, his destiny was to go to Karbala and eventually have a lot of bloodshed. And that's why his his kurta was red. And Imam Hassan, his destiny was to be poisoned. And that's how he was martyred. And that's why his kurta was green, because, you know, you turn green, poison is green.
Okay, that's a really nice story that I shared. Another like kind of like a story in the past, looking at past history on Eid, and especially about our second and third Imam, Imam Hassan alayhi salam and Imam Hussein alayhi salam. So these are very good stories that we should look back and ponder upon. Now I want to come back to Muhammad, and I know, Muhammad, that you have an interest in memorization of Quran. So do you want to share like what surahs you've already memorized?
I memorized just Amma, Surah Mulk, Surah Jummah, just Amma, Surah Mulk, and Surah Jummah. Those are the 32. Those are the surahs I memorized.
Wow, that's really great. That's a lot of surahs, and that's like really something, you know, that we should really be proud of, that, you know, children in our community have like that capacity. You know, this just tells us that, you know, we have the capacity to like memorize so much, and that's something that we should really be proud of. And I'm really proud of you, Muhammad, that you memorized so much. That's really good. So are you currently working on memorizing anything?
Yeah, I'm currently working on memorizing Surah Waqia.
Oh, wow, that's really nice. So that's going good for you?
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. So do you want to share, I know you wanted to share Surah Abasa today and the translation?
Yeah. So should I start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Abasa wa tawalla an ja'ahu al-a'ma. وما يدريك لعله يزكى أو يذكر فتنفعه الذكرى أما من استغنى فأنت له تصدى وما عليك ألا يزكى أما من جاءك يسعى وهو يخشى فأنت عنه تلهى كلا إنها تذكرة ومن جاء ذكره في صحف مكرمة مرفوعة مطهرة بأيدي سفرة كرام بررة قتل الإنسان ما أكفره من أي شيء خلقه من نطفة خلقه فقدره ثم السبيل يسره ثم أماته فأقبره ثم إذا شاء أنشره كلا لما يقض ما أمره فلينظر الإنسان إلى طعامه أنا صببنا الماء صبا ثم شققنا الأرض شقا فأنبتنا فيها حبا وعنبا وقضبا وزيتونا ونخلا وحدائق غلبا وفاكهة وأبا متاعا لكم ولأنعامكم فإذا جاءت الصاخة يوم يفر المرء من أخيه وأمه وأبيه وصاحبته وبنيه لكل امرئ منهم يومئذ شأن يغنيه وجوه يومئذ مسفرة ضاحكة مستبشرة ووجوه يومئذ عليها غبرة ترهقها قترة أولئك هم الكفرة الفجرة صدق الله العلي العظيم.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa jafar. Okay, so that was very, very beautiful, Muhammad. I'd like to praise you. You did such an amazing job. That was, not only did you memorize Surah Abasa, but that was a beautiful recitation that you did. So that's very nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, so do you want to share the translation?
Well, I haven't memorized it, but I need a book for it.
Oh, okay, that's okay. Okay, so now moving on. Now I'd like to show a slideshow of some Eid pictures. This is just like different children who celebrated Eid. So this is like a slideshow of their pictures. As you can see, these are really beautiful pictures. You know, they have really nice clothes, and yeah, they're really, like, you can see these pictures are really nice. So it's really nice, you know, how our community is celebrating Eid this year, and I just want to share these images. Okay, so these are just some images of, like, you know, what happened this past Eid, and you know that, you know, just kind of it kind of allows us to reflect back that this was a really great Eid. So if you can just look through these pictures, and I really like how these children are dressed and how, you know, they're having fun this Eid. So I really want to look back at it and say it's like a really good Eid. So moving on along, you know, you can see in these pictures they're engaged, and like this picture that just passed by, looks like she was having a party that was kind of themed like a Hawaiian party themed for Eid, and just kind of shows how excited people were this Eid. And you know how I'd like to comment on, these children, they seem like they're having a lot of fun, and I hope that other children who, who are watching this show right now also enjoyed their Eid and can really reflect back on it. And I hope you guys all had a really great Eid. So these are the images. You could just kind of look through those. Okay, so now coming back to our discussion about Eid. So now we're gonna come to Murtaza. So Murtaza, I also know that you have an interest in Quran memorization. Do you want to share like any surahs that you've memorized? Just kind of list them.
Well, you see, I memorized Surah Zilzal, Surah Qariya, Surah Adiyat, Surah Jum'ah, Surah Surah Nas, Surah Falaq, and then I also have memorized Surah Qadr, and then I've also memorized Surah Fatiha, then Surah Ikhlas, and then and that's it.
Okay, that's a lot of surahs, and that's also really nice. I'd like to congratulate you. That's a really great achievement that you've memorized so many surahs. And so I also want to ask you, do you have anything to share with us today? I know that you wanted to share the 99 names of Allah.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الرحمن الرحيم الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر الخالق الباري المصور الغفار القهار الوهاب الرزاق الفتاح العليم الخافي الغافي المعز المذل السميع البصير الحكم العدل اللطيف الخبير العليم العظيم الغفور الشكور العلي الكبير الحفيظ المقيت الحسيب الجليل الكريم الرقيب المجيب الواسي الحكيم الودود المجيد الباعث الشهيد الحق الوكيل القوي المتين المحسن المبدي المعين المحيي الميت الحي القيوم الواجد الباني الواحد الأحد الصمد القادر المقتدم المؤخر الأول الآخر الظاهر الباطن الواهي المتعال البار التواب المنتقي العفو عروف المالك الملك ذو الجلال والإكرام المحفظ الجامع الغني المغني الماني الضار والنافع النور الهادي البديع الباقي الوارث الرشيد الصبور.
Wow, that was beautiful. That's really great. I'd like to also congratulate you on that achievement that you've memorized 99 names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is actually, I'd like to tell the audience, that's a really great achievement, and I'm really proud that you've done that and you've shared that Murtaza. So great recitation.
Thank you.
Yeah. So now let's move on to hear another guest, Waji. So Waji, do you want to share anything regarding any du'as or prayers for Eid or Ramadan?
Oh yeah. So there's this book you may not know about. It's really recommended to recite. The book is called Safiya Sajadiya, and it's a compilation of du'as by Imam Zain al-Abidin. In this book are the dua to welcome Ramadan and the dua to recite when finishing the Quran, and the dua to say al-wida to Ramadan, and the dua for moon sighting. And this book overall has 54 different duas, and it's highly recommended to recite during Eid and Ramadan. So next year you should take this opportunity and recite some of these du'as.
Okay, thank you Waji for sharing that. Waji just shared a great opportunity that we can all avail from Sahifa Sajjadiya. We can read these du'as and we can really gain advantage from it. So thank you for sharing that, Waji. And we can always remember that for our next Ramadan and our next Eid to take the advantage of this opportunity and avail that. So now I'd like to move on, and I wanted to talk a little bit about Jannatul Baqi and kind of about the events that happen here. So this is, I'm sure a lot of you have heard already that, the demolition of what's going on in Jannatul Baqi, how the Saudi government, they have run over the graves of, people who we look up to, some of our important imams and, some of their closest companions. They run over that, they've demolished their graves, and it's something that's really upsetting to look back at, that what the Saudi government is doing. So what happens every year is that's actually going to be happening this June 22nd from 3:30 to 6, and it's going to be in front of the Saudi consulate. And you can see here on the screen there's a flyer for this, and it's a protest for rebuilding Al-Baqi al-Islam and protesting against the Saudi consulate concerning this, because this is a great issue, and this protest has been going on, like I mentioned before, for the past 93 years, because this happened 93 years ago, that they demolished such a holy property, like imagine if someone damaged the grave of someone who's really like your mom or your dad or someone really close to you. So it's something really sad, and these people are our imams. So we should really be coming. I highly encourage the audience, and I encourage everyone to come out on June 22nd for this protest for Al-Baqi. So I encourage everyone to come out and protest. So moving on along, I'd like to kind of talk about different imams. I'd like to mention the imams whose graves are actually located there. So first of all is Bibi Fatima Alayha, the wife of Imam Ali alayhi salam. Her grave is also located in Jannatul Baqi. And also Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam, Imam Muhammad Baqir alayhi salam, Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam, Fatima bint Asad, Hazrat Abdullah, who was the father of our holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Also there is Osman ibn Maz'un, and this was actually a really close person who was a really good close companion to our holy Prophet. And there's other very important companions and martyrs that were buried in Jannatul Baqi whose graves were demolished by the Saudi government. So you can see that there's so many people who are very close to us, and our religious leaders and our imams that are buried here. So as you can see in these images, we can see that. And like my mom, actually she's actually been to Jannatul Baqi, and she says that there's no light there. Even if when we're over here, if you go to a graveyard here, then you see that there's lights. It's really beautifully set, but at Jannatul Baqi, it's destroyed, there's no lights. And it's like people sometimes, what actually happens there is that they don't even let women go over there, and they say you can only recite some things in certain parts of the day, and they're really restrictive about that. It's not like how a normal graveyard is. So it's really, really sad looking at what they've done to this graveyard. So and again, I'm encouraging you all to attend this protest. It's very important for us to kind of raise our voice. Like I mentioned with Al-Quds, we have to raise our voice against this oppression, that's happening against our imams. So I really wanted to emphasize that. And I also like to say that, another thing that Maulana Sadiq Hassan he's actually a Maulana who takes caravans to Hajj. And he actually told when my parents were going to Hajj, he told them that when they were trying to expand the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's, they were trying to expand his roza, then they actually found some bodies of his companions, and they were like fresh bodies, but they'd been there for years. They'd been there for 1400 years, and they were like fresh bodies, and then they moved these bodies to Jannatul Baqi. So it's just these instances, these miracles that we have to look back upon and ponder upon these things. So again, I want to emphasize that we should really attend. Again, here we have the flyer that we should go out and we should raise our voice against this oppression, and we should go and protest to rebuild Al-Baqi. So it's going to happen on Friday, June 22nd from 3:30 to 6 p.m. So I highly encourage everyone to go and attend this protest. So now I want to come back to our discussion about Eid, and I just want to kind of come around and ask you guys a question. So let's start with Muhammad. Do you want to share? Do you like from learning from your experiences this Eid? Do you want to try anything different or try something new next Eid? That
Yeah, next Eid I would like to come earlier for the speech and do more du'as like what you mentioned, the Sayyid Sajjadiya. I like to do the du'as that are mentioned in there, so we can get the thawab.
Okay, that's really good. That's good change to implement. Like what you mentioned that about Sayyid Sajjada, you know, we can read those duas next Ramadan and next Eid. So that's a really good plan for next Ramadan Eid that you shared. Murtaza, do you want to share anything, you know, based off of this Eid? Anything new you want to do next year based on anything you've learned?
Well, next Eid, what I wanted to do is just go to the Majalis earlier, then spend some more time with my family and eat stuff and, you know, have dinner and get the gifts and exchange everything. That's probably what I want to do for Eid.
Okay, that's a nice plan. Ahmad, anything new you want to do next year?
Well, this is sort of something for everyone, like more directed towards the adults. Next year, like this year, what I noticed was a lot of people left early from the Eid namaz. They didn't stay for the Mulana's khutbah, which, as he was saying that day, that it's part of the Eid namaz to listen to the khutbah. And so I just want to say that maybe next year, even if you're leaving, that you have to do some work for your job or something, maybe just stay for half of the khutbah. Like it's recommended to stay for the whole thing, but just try to attend as much as you can next year. So yeah.
That's a really good point, and I really want to reinforce and emphasize that point. You know, that people tend to think like, you know, when you go to Eid namaz, you know, right after you do the namaz, you go home. You know, I did the namaz, that's part of my Eid, you know. But then the khutbah part of it, like the Maulana speech, that's also very important because, you know, that's again, like I've mentioned in other programs, that's again, you know, an opportunity for us to gain knowledge, and that's like one of our duties as Muslims is to gain knowledge. So that's like, you know, you're missing out on such an opportunity if you leave before that. So I highly encourage that, you know, you stay for the khutbah and you listen to the Maulana's words, because like what we shared today, like about the origins of Eid, this is all what we heard from the Maulana's speech. So things like this that, you know, we never knew, we can learn from the khutbah. So that's a really good suggestion for next year. Ahmad, anything we could do different, you want to implement next Eid or next Ramadan?
I would like to do namaz shab a lot more often and do more dua every night and do a lot more duas.
Yeah, that's really good. Namaz shab is actually very important, and it's highly recommended to do to perform namaz shab in the nights of Ramadan. You know, my mom, she's always telling us, you know, it's, you know, what people tend to do is, you know, in Ramadan they tend to stay up late. I know that I've done it before. You know, you tend to stay up late, you know, you come home from the masjid and, you know, you're awake. So if you're not doing anything, then, you know, you might as well read namaz shab, because it's a golden opportunity for you to gain sawab. So that's also a very great point made right there, that, you know, we should read namaz shab. That's like something we can add to in our Ramadan and our Eid for next year. So thank you all for those are great suggestions that you all gave. Now I want to come back to the topic of Jannatul Baqi, and I'm just going to kind of come around, and, you know, if you guys have any comment that you would like to make about Jannatul Baqi, any comment or your personal opinion about that. So we'll start with Muhammad.
Yeah, I think we should protest more, so the people everyone understands that we need to rebuild Jannatul Baqi, because if the people don't understand, how will we convince the Saudi government that we need to rebuild it? If we don't convince everyone else, the Saudi government is not going to listen. They're going to ask why should we? And the people are going to support the Saudi government. The other people are going to support the Saudi government instead of us. So I think that protest should go on, and hopefully gain more people to our side.
Yeah, it's really good that, you know, he's really emphasizing the point that, you know, we all need to come out, and that's a great point, that we all need to come out and we need to protest, okay? So that's a great point there. Ahmad, do you have any opinion you would like to share on Jannatul Baqi?
Yeah, basically the same thing, that more of us should stand up the same way we stand up for other things. We should value like Jannatul Baqi and just our Islamic things more than we should value like our worldly things. Like, well, we want to aim towards like respecting our imams. We want to show our love for our imams, and if we're just letting the Saudi government like demolish their graves and just disrespect like all that they stood for, is kind of like it goes against all our like rules and laws and everything. So we should stand up more often.
Yeah, that's great. And I'd like to reemphasize that the protest is going to be happening on June 22nd from 3:30 p.m. to 6, and it's going to be happening in front of the Saudi consulate. So this is the flyer if you would like to take a picture or anything of it. So you can, I encourage you all to come, because the greater there are of us, the more powerful our message would be to everybody. So this is the flyer for the Jannatul Baqi. And it's almost time for us to wrap up this session of Youth Perspective. So Waji, I'm going to come to you. Do you have a hadith of Imam Ali alayhi salam that you'd like to share?
Yeah. The hadith is, Eid is only for the one whose fasts Allah has accepted, whose salats Allah has elevated, and any day in which we do not disobey Allah is the day of Eid. So what this quote means is that Eid is basically for those Muslims who truly feel like they're gaining something from fasting and salat. And what it means by any day in which we do not disobey Allah is the day of Eid. Those Muslims who Eid is truly for is those who feel like if they hadn't disobeyed Allah for one day, they would feel as much celebration as they would on Eid.
Yeah, so that's a really important hadith of Imam Ali alayhi salam about Eid, about essentially what Eid is. And so now to kind of wrap up our program, I wanted to say, I hope all of the viewers and all of the people here, I hope you had a great Eid, and may the celebrations continue. And I hope that we all learned something new, because the guests here, they gave really good suggestions and good things that we can always do for next Ramadan. Because since this Ramadan is over, a key thing that we need to do is you need to reflect on what did I do this Ramadan and how can I improve for next year. So these are just, I hope these suggestions, you all took into account these suggestions. Hopefully we can apply these and any other religious things that we can apply to our lives for next Ramadan and next Eid, and hopefully it can be even better than this year. And I'm sure you, based on all the experiences I've heard from you guys, spending times with your families and really celebrating, getting together for dinner, I'm sure you had a great Eid, and I'm sure all of the viewers had a great Eid too. And I'd like to end by also saying that, giving my condolences for the people who are going through hard times, those people who have lost loved ones in the past year, or, those individuals whose parents passed away or whose children passed away, and anyone who's going through any tough time. I send my condolences to them on this Eid, and I hope that, inshallah, they will feel better. And just, I'd like to say Eid Mubarak to everybody. So, Eid Mubarak. And so that, if everyone can say together, Eid Mubarak.
Eid Mubarak.
And we hope you have a nice day.